हेलो दोस्तों, स्वागत है आपका शॉर्ट एंड लवर चैनल में। आज की डिक्टेशन इंग्लिश डिक्टेशन है जो स्टेनोग्राफर परीक्षा 2021 में आई हुई है और इसको रिकॉर्ड किया जा रहा है मनीष नाथ चौहान द्वारा, जो 2018 बैच में सेलेक्टेड हैं इंग्लिश स्टेनोग्राफी से। तो उनके लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद और आप लोग भी थैंक यू लिखिएगा एक बार कि उन्होंने इस डिक्टेशन को रिकॉर्ड किया। तो चलिए डिक्टेशन स्टार्ट करते हैं।
Be ready. The dictation will start in 3 seconds. Instead of being proud, there was a shade of sadness. By climbing the peak of Everest, you are speechless by a deep sense of joy and thankfulness. It is a joy which lasts a lifetime. The experience changes you completely. The man who has been to the mountains is never the same again. As I look back at life after climbing Everest, I cannot help remarking about the other peak, the peak of the mind, no less tricky and no easier to climb. Even when getting down from the peak, once the physical tiredness had gone, I began asking myself the question why I had climbed Everest. Why did the act of reaching the peak have such a hold on my imagination? It was already a thing of the past, something done yesterday. With every passing day, it would become more remote. And then what would remain? Would my memories fade slowly away? All these thoughts led me to question myself as to why people climb mountains. It is not easy to answer the question. The simplest answer would be as others have said, because it is there. It presents great difficulties. Man takes delight in overcoming obstacles. The obstacles in climbing a mountain are physical. A climb to a peak means stamina and willpower. The demonstration of these physical qualities is no doubt terrifying, as it was for me also. I have a more personal answer to the question. From my childhood, I have been attracted by mountains. I had been miserable lost when away from mountains in the plains. Mountains are nature at its best. Their beauty and majesty pose a great challenge, and like many, I believe that mountains are a means of communication with God. Once having granted this, the question remains why Everest? Because it is the highest and mightiest and has defied many previous attempts. It takes the last ounce of one's energy. It is a brutal struggle with rock and ice. Once taken up, it cannot be given up halfway, even when one's life is at stake. Para. The passage back is as difficult as the passage onwards. And then, when the peak is climbed, there is the excitement, the joy of having done something, the sense of a battle fought and won. There is a feeling of victory and happiness. Seeing a peak in the distance, I get transported to another world. I experience a change within myself which can only be called mystical. By its beauty, remoteness, roughness, and the difficulties encountered on the way of the peak draws me to it as always Everest did. It is a challenge that is difficult to resist. Looking back, I find that I have not yet fully explained why I climbed Everest. It is like answering a question: why you breathe? Why do you help your neighbor? Why do you want to do good acts? There is no final answer possible. And then there is the fact that Everest is not just a physical climb. The man who has been to the mountain top becomes conscious in a special manner of his own smallness in this large universe. The physical conquest of a mountain is only one part of the achievement. There is more to it than that. It is followed by a sense of fulfillment. There is the satisfaction of a deep wish to rise above one's surroundings. It is the eternal love for adventure in man. The experience is not merely physical, it is emotional, it is spiritual. Consider a typical climb towards the peak on the last heights. You are sharing a rope with another climber. He cuts the steps in the hard ice. Then he stops and you inch your way up. You strain every nerve as you take every step. Famous climbers have left records of the help given by others. They have also recorded how they needed just that help, else they might have given up. Breathing is difficult. You wonder why you ever undertook the climb. There are moments when you feel like going back. It would be big relief to go down instead of up, but almost at once you snap out of that mood. There is something in you that does not let you give up the struggle. Your companion keeps up with you just another 50 feet. You look at your companion and he looks at you. You draw inspiration from each other, and then, without first being aware of it, you are at the peak. Looking round from the peak, you tell yourself that it was worthwhile. Other silvery peaks appear through the clouds. If you are lucky, the sun may be on them. The surrounding peaks looks like a beautiful necklace around the neck of your peak. Below, you see vast valleys sloping into distance. It is an enriching experience to just look down from the peak of a mountain. You bow down and make your respect to whichever god you worship. I left On the Everest, a picture of Guru Nanak. Rawat left a picture of Goddess Durga. One person left an idol of the Buddha. One had buried a cross under a heap of rocks and stones in the snow. These are not symbols of downfall but of respect. The experience of the having climbed to the peak changes you completely. There is another peak. It is within yourself. It is in your own mind. Each man carries within himself his own main mountain peak. He must climb it to reach to a fuller knowledge of himself. It is most fearful and unscalable. It cannot be climbed by anyone else. You yourself have to do it. The physical act of climbing to the peak of a mountain outside is similar to the act of climbing the mountain within. The effects of both the climbs are the same. Whether the mountain you climb is physical or emotional, the climb will certainly change you. It teaches you much more about yourself. Stop.